Hi, good afternoon. I hope you're doing well on this chilly Sunday afternoon. I wanted to share something with you. I recently taught just a short little workshop on planning and calendaring and all this kind of things to prepare for the new year. And I realized I probably should have made it a retreat because it's not something you can do in a short period of time. And I was a little disappointed because I don't think people understood my passion for planning. And so I want to explain a little bit about what I do and how it works and why it's important. So, for example, this year I had a 4-day weekend at Thanksgiving and a 4-day weekend at Christmas. And I spent those time going over the last year, the plans I'd made, what went well, what didn't, prayerfully thinking about what were my values, or what were the values that God had put inside me that He wanted to bring out, and what were the things that He had planned for me. And every year I go through this process of choosing the one thing that is going to make the greatest impact on my life. This year, as I prayerfully considered that, it came out to be this huge, multifaceted goal that was more of a 3 to 5 year plan. And so I spent hours and hours and days breaking down into the smallest detail how I was going to achieve every single aspect. You know, some of it was financial. There were financial aspects to the goal. There were spiritual aspects. There were, like I say, it was multifaceted. And so I sat down and I did this, and I worked out a plan, wrote it all in my calendar, my planner, planned each step out for each area. And why is that important? Well, about 2 weeks ago, I had some weird things go on with my foot. And I was at work one day and I was in excruciating pain. I had been in excruciating pain for weeks. And someone asked me, well, that pain isn't going to be permanent, is it? And I just kind of said, oh, I hope not. And then I got home that night and I just began to cry. Because reality is, I didn't know if it was going to be permanent or not. And realizing that this instance could drastically change the course of my life. It could, fortunately, I'm doing better, but it could have resulted in my not being able to work anymore. And so after I cried a little bit over this possible life-changing thing, I reached over and I had my planner right next to my bed. And I started to look at it and I said, you know what? It's okay, because I spent time, countless hours and days with the Lord, letting Him search my heart, seeking after Him, seeing what He would have me do over the next few years, and breaking those steps down with Him. And so regardless of what was happening in my life, I still had a plan. I had a plan that I had spent countless hours with the Lord seeking and coming up with what His desire for me is in the coming years. And I had the steps. And the steps, some of them may look a little different because I wasn't working and I didn't know if I would go back to work. But I still had the plan. And so that is why planning is so important to me. It's not just that I sit down and plan the things I want to do. Yes, those are important. We have to plan for self-care. We have to plan for vacations. But the main reason that I plan and spend time with my planner every year to come up with a good plan is, one, if you have specific goals and you break them down into steps, you're going to be more successful. But two, I spent time in prayer putting these goals together. And so they weren't just my plans, they were God's plans. And so when the world just suddenly got crazy and I didn't know what was happening next, I didn't have to throw my whole plan out because I already had this plan broken down into steps. I could sit down and I go, okay, well, we're still working toward this plan, and here's some things we can do. And if we can't do this, we can do this. And so it took that fear away, because sometimes in life will throw us something that will really rock our world, and we will lose sight of what God spoke to us in the quiet time. And our eyes come off of that, and then we get all worried and we're scrambling and we're trying to find different things. But when we write down the things that God speaks to us in the quiet, we have those. And so when the world throws a wrench into the works, we have something we can go back to. Yes, God is always there. God is always with us. Sometimes in the midst of chaos, it's hard to see it, but having a plan that you've developed with Him helps you to go back to that, and it added stability to my life. So I just want to encourage you, if you haven't yet spent a weekend with the Lord, praying and looking over your life and your values and your goals, I would encourage you to take some time to do that. Because this year will probably not go the way you planned it. And if you have a plan that you've worked on with the Lord, monkey wrenches won't phase you in the same way that they did without. All right. Well, I hope you're all having a great, hope you're not getting any monkey wrenches. Can't believe we're almost 1 month into the new year. So hope things are going great, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.